Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we are talking about something that just dropped literally hours ago and is already trending across every K-pop platform, every entertainment news outlet, and every social media feed that has anything to do with Korean culture. Because on March 30th, 2026, the South Korean government, not a fan poll, not a music chart, not a streaming platform algorithm, but the actual government of South Korea released the results of their most comprehensive global cultural survey ever conducted. And the data about Jungkook specifically is the kind of thing that makes you stop scrolling and read the numbers twice to make sure you are seeing them correctly. So today we are going to break down everything, what this survey is, what it found, what the Jungkook specific numbers actually mean in context, and why the global reaction to this report has been so enormous. Because there is a lot to unpack here and all of it is significant. Let's get into it. First, let me tell you exactly what this survey is, because understanding the source is everything when it comes to appreciating the weight of what was just released. The 2026 Overseas Hallyu Survey was released on March 30th by South Korea's Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism in collaboration with the Korean Foundation for International Cultural Exchange, known as KOFUS. The study evaluated influential Korean cultural figures across 30 countries, based on responses from 27,400 participants collected between November and December 2025. 27,400 people. 30 countries. 5 regions of the world. This is not a casual online poll where fans vote repeatedly for their favorite idol. This is a methodologically rigorous academic and governmental study conducted by one of the most respected cultural research institutions in Asia, commissioned by a national ministry, designed to measure the actual state of Korean cultural influence across the globe. When this survey says something, it carries a credibility that no fan-driven chart or streaming statistic can match. And what it said about Jungkook today is extraordinary. According to the report, BTS ranked first overall with 6.9%, becoming the most influential Hallyu act globally. Jungkook placed third in the global rankings, with his individual influence recorded across all 5 surveyed regions. Let me break down exactly what that means. The 5 surveyed regions are the Americas, Europe, Asia-Pacific, the Middle East, and Africa. Every single one of those regions, 5 out of 5, no exceptions, no gaps, recorded Jungkook's individual influence in their data. That is not just impressive. That is historically unprecedented for a solo K-pop artist. Because the way that global influence tends to work, even for the most successful international artists, is that it concentrates in certain regions and fades in others. You might be enormous in Asia and moderate in the Americas. You might dominate Europe and have limited penetration in the Middle East. Complete saturation across all 5 regions simultaneously is the kind of achievement that almost does not happen. And yet here we are. The regional breakdown showed Jungkook ranking second in the Americas with 4.4% and third in Asia-Pacific with 3.9%. Those numbers might sound modest at first glance until you understand the context in which they exist. This survey is measuring the influence of Korean cultural figures across the entire population of respondents, not just K-pop fans, not just people who actively seek out Korean content, but a representative sample of people aged 15 to 59 across 30 countries. The fact that Jungkook registers at 4.4% in the Americas means that in a room of 100 randomly selected people from American countries, more than 4 of them, people who may or may not consider themselves K-pop fans, people who may primarily consume entirely different kinds of media, named Jungkook as an influential Korean cultural figure. That is remarkable penetration into mainstream global consciousness. BTS took the top spot in the influential figures ranking, followed by Lee Min-ho in second, with Blackpink and Jungkook tied for third, and Lisa fourth. Now here is the detail that I want you to really focus on, because it is the one that the most analytically minded fans have been pointing to as the most significant finding in the entire report. Jungkook placed third on this list as a solo individual. BTS placed first as a group, which means Jungkook is a member of the group that finished first, and he also independently, separately, as a solo artist, finished in the top 3. He is being counted twice in this ranking. Once as part of the most influential Hallyu act in the world, and once as one of the most influential individual Hallyu figures in the world. The overlap between those two things is the clearest possible statistical expression of something that fans have been saying for years: Jungkook is simultaneously essential to BTS and independently massive in his own right. The 2026 Hallyu Status Survey provides a broader view of how Korean culture is perceived globally. The survey identified K-pop as the most representative image of South Korea, chosen by 17.5% of respondents, followed by Korean food at 12.1%, television dramas at 9.5%, beauty products at 6.2%, and films at 5.9%. And this broader finding is the frame within which Jungkook's individual numbers need to be understood. K-pop is the number one thing that the world associates with South Korea. Not Samsung. Not Korean food, which has become genuinely global. Not the Korean film industry that produced Parasite and Squid Game. K-pop. And within K-pop, Jungkook is one of the two most recognizable individual faces globally alongside the collective identity of BTS itself. That means he is sitting at the absolute pinnacle of the thing that the entire world most associates with an entire nation. That is not a K-pop achievement. That is a cultural achievement of an entirely different scale. Interest in Korean content remained high overall, with 69.7% of respondents expressing a favorable view. Southeast Asian countries continued to show strong engagement, with the Philippines at 87%, India at 83.8%, and Indonesia at 82.7% reporting some of the highest levels of interest in Hallyu. And for those of you watching from Indonesia right now, and I know there are a lot of you, that 82.7% number is your context. More than 4 out of every 5 Indonesians surveyed expressed favorable interest in Korean cultural content. Indonesia is one of the 3 most Hallyu-engaged countries on the planet according to this government survey. And within that Indonesian engagement with Hallyu, BTS and Jungkook occupy the very top position. The connection between Jungkook and Indonesian army is not a niche phenomenon. It is a documented, government-surveyed, statistically verified cultural reality. ParkJimin, president of COFUS, said the results show that Hallyu has moved beyond a simple content trend to become structurally embedded in global markets. Structurally embedded. That is a phrase from an academic and governmental context that means something very specific. It means that Korean culture is no longer something that people discover and then move on from. It is no longer a trend that comes and goes with the algorithm. It has become part of the infrastructure of how people in 30 countries consume culture, make purchasing decisions, spend their leisure time, and understand the world. And Jungkook is one of the primary human faces of that structural embedding. He is not just popular. He is part of the architecture of global culture in 2026. Nearly 65% of respondents said their interest in Korean culture affected their purchasing decisions regarding Korean products. On average, respondents spent 14.7 hours per month on Korean cultural content, up from 14 hours the year before. 14.7 hours per month on Korean cultural content. That is nearly 4 hours per week, every week, all year round, across a sample of 27,400 people from 30 countries. And the number is going up year over year. Not plateauing, not declining, growing. Which means that the cultural machine that Jungkook is a central part of is not at its peak yet. It is still expanding. The floor of that influence keeps rising even as the ceiling seems to keep moving upward as well. Now let's talk about what the reaction to this survey has been, because the way different communities responded to this data is its own story. Within the ARMY fandom, the reaction was immediate and celebratory, but also something deeper than just excitement about a ranking. Because for fans who have spent years watching Jungkook work, watching him pour himself into every project with the kind of relentless commitment that very few artists at his level of fame still bring, this survey feels like official confirmation of something they have always known. The validation is not just about the numbers. It is about what the numbers represent: years of touring, years of recording, years of performing, years of being exactly who he is in front of the whole world, and the world responding by choosing him, consistently, across every region, in every survey. Outside the fandom, the reaction has been equally significant. Music industry analysts have been posting about the survey findings across LinkedIn and Twitter, noting that the combination of Jungkook's group ranking through BTS and his individual ranking as a solo artist represents a kind of dual dominance that is essentially without parallel in the contemporary global music industry. The survey also highlighted the economic influence of Hallyu, with fashion products seeing the highest average monthly expenditure at $33.90, and beauty products following at $29.70.
And in those economic numbers, you can trace a direct line to Jungkook's ambassador roles, Hublot, Calvin Klein, Chanel Beauty, because every brand that has partnered with him has done so with the explicit understanding that his cultural influence translates directly and measurably into consumer behavior. The survey does not just validate his artistic impact. It validates every business decision that every luxury brand has made in signing him to represent them. The survey was now in its 15th year, with this edition adding Singapore, Chile, and Poland for the first time.
15 years of this survey.
And in the 2026 edition, with the largest sample size and the most geographically diverse reach the survey has ever had, Jungkook lands in the top 3 individually while being part of the group that ranked first. The survey has been running since 2012, and this is where the trajectory has led it to a version of this data where a single Korean solo artist has documented influence in every region of the world simultaneously. What makes today's release particularly powerful in terms of timing is that it landed on March 30th, just 10 days before the Arirang World Tour begins on April 9th. Which means that this survey, this official government documentation of Jungkook's global cultural influence, drops right at the moment when he is about to take that influence onto stages in 34 cities across 23 countries for 79 consecutive shows. The data and the reality are perfectly synchronized. The survey says he is one of the most influential cultural figures in the world across 5 regions. And then, starting in 9 days, he is going to walk onto stages in those 5 regions and prove it in the most direct and visceral way possible. There is something also worth saying about what this survey means for the broader story of K-pop's global journey. 15 years ago, a survey like this would not have had Jungkook in the top 3. It would not have had any individual K-pop idol in the top 3 alongside a Korean actor like Lee Min-ho. The very structure of the ranking, the fact that a K-pop solo artist, a K-pop group, and a K-drama actor are all competing for the top positions, represents a fundamental shift in how Korean culture exports itself to the world. And Jungkook has been at the leading edge of that shift for his entire career. From his debut at 15, through the years of BTS's global rise, through his solo era, through military service and back, he has been present at every stage of the transformation that this survey is now documenting in official government data.
The growth rate in Western countries was notably higher than in Asian markets.
In the US, experience rates for Korean film, dramas and variety programs all rose by more than 10 percentage points year-on-year. Across Southern Europe, Korean music surged with France up 11.3 points, Italy up 9.7 and Spain up 6.4.
These are the markets where the growth is happening fastest right now.
And as those Western markets accelerate their engagement with Korean culture, Jungkook's position in the data is going to strengthen further, not weaken. Because he has already demonstrated, through Seven, through Golden, through the Arirang comeback, that his appeal in Western markets is genuine and growing.
The survey is capturing the beginning of a Western wave that has not fully broken yet.
So what does all of this mean for Jungkook, for BTS, and for everything that is coming in the next 12 months?
It means that the world tour is not launching in a vacuum.
It is launching with the official backing of a government survey that documents, in 30 countries and 5 regions, exactly how embedded Jungkook has become in global culture. It is launching with the knowledge that the audience waiting for him on those 79 stages is not just a collection of dedicated fans, it is a statistically documented cross-section of global culture that has chosen him, year after year, survey after survey, as one of the faces of Korean culture that matters most to them.
That is the platform he is standing on. And if the last few weeks, the concert, the Netflix documentary, The Tonight Show, the Swimside events have shown us anything, it is that Jungkook on that platform in 2026 is something genuinely historic. The government just confirmed it in writing. Thank you so much for watching this all the way through. If this video gave you a new appreciation for the scale of what Jungkook has built and what this comeback means in a global cultural context, please hit the like button because it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who care about this story. Subscribe if you are not already here because we are going to be covering every development of the world tour and every piece of data like this that comes out in the next 12 months. Hit the bell so you never miss anything. And drop a comment below which number from this survey surprised you the most. I want to know. I will see you in the next one.